So to set the scene and provide some context, every year Content Square analyses trillions of behaviours across our customers' websites and apps, and to identify the latest trends and insights in digital customer experience. This is then compiled into an interactive benchmarking study which is accessible to everyone. In this session, we'll explore some of the key trends from the benchmarking study from this year and discuss what they mean for digital experience everywhere. Right, so the report itself is based on anonymised data that Content Square has gathered from thousands of businesses around the world. The result is a comprehensive data set covering 9 different industries. Our data set includes 389 billion page views, 90 billion sessions, 6,000 websites across the globe, 64 countries, and 9 industries. So pretty comprehensive. And we're going to take a look at some of the key trends, just a couple, that we've seen this year. And Kate and I are going to have a bit of a conversation about what brands can do in response to these trends. So the first trend we're going to be looking at, Kate, is around acquisition. Interestingly, we've seen a year-on-year decline in organic traffic and a greater reliance on paid acquisition. So I'm curious to hear from you, is this also what you're seeing with your clients, and how are they planning for traffic acquisition?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. We are seeing this literally everywhere across all of our clients at the moment. I just got a brief yesterday for someone who needed to reimagine their whole digital experience measurement framework in light of this being kind of one of their core issues. I think it really kind of boils down to 2 key things that we're seeing. One is the rise of zero-click search. So everyone would be experiencing and reviewing a lot of AI generating a response for you that doesn't even necessitate necessarily a click-through. Google's kind of taking the lead on solving a lot of that for us, which is obviously going to contribute to that. And then we're also seeing, I don't know if you are as well, one thing that kind of jumped out at me when I looked at this report was, and being very much on the analytics side of things, is there's almost this fragmentation of organic data sources. So it used to just be kind of Google/organic, Bing/organic within your analytics platforms. Now we've got Perplexity and referrals from Gemini and referrals from GPT. And I just got a message from a friend while I was sitting there earlier on LinkedIn saying his referral traffic from AI platforms has jumped 300% in the last year. So I think one takeaway I would encourage everyone to do when you leave is to kind of go back and have a look at what percentage of traffic you are getting as AI referrers. And we're going to talk a bit about journeys, but I find it interesting to also question, are you losing traffic that's not necessarily the traffic you need? Are people doing their consideration and research via these GPT platforms or somewhere else and then just coming to you when they need to purchase rather than, are you losing traffic that's really important to you, or is it more awareness consideration traffic and they're just coming right there to be more transactional?
Yeah, wow. It's so interesting that we now need to be aware of and cater to a completely different subset of traffic in these AI agents that'll be sort of dominating in the months to come, not even years to come, really.
Completely.
So I'm interested also how can brands leverage AI and data-driven insights to improve targeting and maximise ROI?
It's a great question. I think anyone who's sort of experienced this world over the number of years has realized that the sample sizes that we have in cookies is certainly declining, right? We don't have as much richness in the samples that we used to be able to do from a targeting perspective. So what we're seeing a lot of at Accenture is leveraging the samples that we do have to train AI agents to help us understand synthetic audiences and how they would respond to creative before you even start spending $1 on it in market. So being able to create hundreds of different tone of voice executions, creative executions, and imagery to see what are the segments that would likely resonate with this before you even start spending money on that traffic acquisition. So it's kind of a different way to think about it rather than just targeting. But yeah, we created an app for a client recently who, they have in their own hands an agent that they can talk to about a marketing campaign that they might want to deploy coming up to see, hey, will this resonate with our audience? And they've got these AI clones of their customers that are telling you and giving you feedback in real time. So
That's
very
amazing.
Cool.
That is really cool. Jeez. Cool. So the second trend we're going to look at is around engagement. One of the biggest positive indicators of good digital experience is consumption. Consumption measures how much a visitor consumes during a visit, such as number of pages visited, time on site, and scroll rate. So last year, we saw a 6.5% decline in consumption. And I'm curious, with so many digital touchpoints competing for attention, what strategies can brands use to keep users engaged longer?
I love this. I mean, I keep seeing this ongoing trend of the funnel completely flattening. You know, what we used to understand as being able to operate across so many different steps in the journey, we now have consumers at different stages of maturity. You've got experience, and it's tough for brands. You need to kind of account for journeys where people might be using you from every stage, wanting to kind of conduct that research. They're looking at your brand versus others and toggling between different tabs on their browser and doing it the way that, you know, we use content marketing for, many years ago. My mum still very much enjoys being able to open, David Jones versus Myer and look at all of the deals and see where she's going to get the best bang for buck. Whereas I am best friends unapologetically with my ChatGPT 03 model now. And it's doing, it knows me, it has my memory, it knows what size I am. It's helping me really cut out the middleman on that consideration phase and then giving me a really prescriptive view of what I might be interested in buying. So recently, I don't know if anyone else did this, but I got really obsessed with doing my colour analysis online to see what my, new look and feel should be. And I've decided that red is going to be my full personality now. And because of that, I had ChatGPT give me a bit of a view, and we took inventory about what my current, wardrobe looked like and what I needed to update. And by the time I was ready to buy, I just wanted to know, do you have these shoes in this model? Do you have my size? And will these arrive in time for my event? So that then I can make sure that they're here.
Great looking shoes.
Thank you. So, that's a good example of the funnel being flattened. I was not interested in necessarily engaging with the brand because my behavior has changed. But what I need from that digital experience by the time I land on that site is tell me what I need to know, don't get in my way, and help me check out.
Yeah, wow. The changing preferences and the way you get to where you want to get to is just completely turning upside down, isn't it?
Completely.
So look, on to the metrics that some of you care most about, conversion. The headline is conversion is under pressure. In APAC, conversion rates are declining year on year by more than 22%. And I'm curious, what do you think might be contributing to this decline, Kate?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because, like we were sort of saying, it depends on who's kind of coming to your site, and have you stayed up to date well enough to change the experience based on those changing of behaviours? I think I'm wondering whether or not we've necessarily got a little bit of catching up to do in terms of understanding which segments of our market are using our website and in the right way, and therefore, if we haven't caught up enough to some of, if we have people experiencing and using our site in the way that I am, in the example I just showed, is there too much friction? Because if there is too much friction, I actually am more likely to go through Google Shopping or potentially go through a marketplace or something that I find much easier and much more transactional. So it's kind of that balance between we want to create loyalty and connected experiences, but at the same time, I think we need to get better at personalising based on where the referrer has come from and what they are specifically looking to do, and get our jobs to be done really aligned to those segments.
Right, that's really interesting. And so what's the role an organisation's tech stack can play in improving conversions? Yeah,
so I mean, personalisation based on, referrers is extremely kind of, baseline, quite easy to do. So I really want to see more of that happening. And then while it might sound really basic as well, getting your backyard sorted in terms of all of your metadata, making sure that the tracking is accurate. And now we're really needing to make sure that we're not just catering to tone of voice and, the shiny, beautiful brand experiences that a human might experience with our site, but we actually need to make sure that all of the code and the metadata is streamlined enough that a robot can read it really easily too, and that our AI agents are getting what they need. So it's a tough job for marketers in this world, but I think all of those things need to be considered in order for us to ease that pressure on conversion.
Yeah, it's fair to say that AI is having an impact across everything, isn't it? And the speed of change is just incredible.
Absolutely.
Good one. All right. So the last trend that we're going to have a look at, for a long time, businesses have focused on acquisition more so than the retention. With acquisition costs rising, however, retention is becoming a major priority. What strategies should brands focus on to improve customer lifetime value?
I love this. I think it's a really interesting one for me because we operate with clients that have, global footprints. And while in other markets, unlike Australia, you really can just sort of focus on acquisition and just optimizing for acquisition. And certainly when you're sort of starting, that can be where a lot of your quick wins come. We try to focus on optimizing our media budgets to get that to be as streamlined as possible. And that can be one way to start. But retention is just so important, especially in Australia, because we just don't have the density of the population. So it is super key. I think we really need to focus more on long-term value exchanges. And even though, ironically, I've talked a lot about AI here tonight, but we need to make sure that we're creating really human, valuable experiences and, utilising a tone of voice that engages users profoundly and hooks them so that then they have a genuine incentive to want to engage with your brand and in a precise, meaningful way beyond what their GPT can do. So I think the airlines do a really good job of this. Saudi Arabia have done a phenomenal job of coming up with an AI companion that is its own ecosystem. So it's highly valuable for you to plan your trip, and the more that they understand about you, they can be really intuit what would be a meaningful experience to you, and that's going to be the only way that they can get an edge over and above me and my best friend Chat GPT that I pay for. So yeah,
nice one. That's it's really interesting. I've often heard of the US market being sort of like a bottomless pit of consumers, where you can go retention, yes, but it's all right, there's plenty more where they came from, sort of thing, but it's not the case in this market, particularly in Australia and New Zealand, with only sort of 22, 26 million sort of people to tap into. So it's so important to keep those customers that we fought so hard to acquire in the first place.
Exactly.
All right, I've got one big last question for you. Looking at the state of digital experience this year, where do you think digital marketing and product teams should be investing their time and resources to succeed into the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of been talked about earlier today as well, but I really think that we're kind of coming back to brand and coming back to community and real human experiences that need to be layered on top of the digital tech. There's so much that the tech has been able to enable, but at this point, because it's so ubiquitous and it's become a standard, it's almost table stakes to compete. People are wanting to get immersed within an ecosystem where you are leveraging your other brand partnerships to offer them genuine value. If I get another email where they're asking me to pick what my shoe size is for a sale, when I know that they know what my shoe size is, and have the ability to kind of tailor that EDM content and tailor the website content to be more aligned to my aesthetic and the kinds of imagery that I engage with, Netflix have been doing this for years. They changed the way that the imagery shows up for us in order for me to feel connected, and as though that's something that adds so much value to my life that I'm not going to move and switch to a different service provider. So I think that we need to do better at leveraging the technology in order to create human connected experiences. It's where tech and brand are really going to come back together.
Yeah, well said. I love it. And not only remember your shoe size, but remember, we like red now.
We like red now.
Red only. That's awesome. Well, please join me in thanking Kate. Kate, thank you so much for joining us on stage.
Thank you so much.
For sharing your insights and trends. Certainly some interesting times ahead. So thank you, Kate.